president also says he will nominate a top economic advisor to the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. Stephen Myron is the chair of the White House's Council of Economic Advisors. He would serve in a temporary role for 4 months. The move comes after a Biden appointee said she is stepping down effective tomorrow. And joining us now to discuss is David Clement, the North American Affairs Director at the Consumer Choice Center. Thanks for being with us. President Trump says tariffs will encourage U.S. consumers to buy more American-made goods, increase the amount of tax raised, and boost investment. But are Americans having to pay the price to make that happen?
So yes, because tariffs, generally speaking, are paid for by the country that implements the tariffs. And so it acts as a tax increase. An example would be if Americans are buying goods from India, let's say the garments that were featured prior to me joining here, it's American consumers who are going to pay the increased price. And so it's a tax increase on Americans. But it is important to highlight that the administration can't have it both ways, in the sense that they can't celebrate the revenue that tariffs are bringing in and then also talk about returning American jobs. Because if Americans are still buying foreign goods, that means that we're not shifting American consumer behavior to buy American. They're still buying those international goods. They're just paying more for them.
David, let's get into more specifics here. What types of products will Americans feel the weight of tariffs from the most?
So I think in the automobile sector, that is where you're going to see a big crunch. And there's a bit of a weird distortion. So if we look at the auto pact between Canada and the United States and the tariffs that are going to be implemented or are implemented on auto parts, those get impacted every time they cross the border. And we're going to see companies like Ford, even though they make cars in America, they make cars in America with Canadian and Mexican parts, they're still paying tariffs in the manufacturing process, where at the same time, the deals with Japan and Korea has some of the Asian car manufacturers actually potentially paying less. And so we have a weird distortion in terms of where the end impact is going to be. But it's also important to note that there's a tremendous lag on this. Because in the manufacturing sector and in most warehousing, we've known that tariffs are coming, and you see essentially pre-purchasing of goods prior to the tariff deadline. So you don't see the immediate impact of tariffs on American consumers. That does come weeks and months later.
Also looking ahead, could there be more tariffs on the way for things like pharmaceutical products, for example?
It's possible. It's possible that there could be tariffs on pharmaceuticals. I know that drug pricing has been a priority for the Trump administration, most favored nation. There have been fairly heavy criticism of that policy because the U.S. is largely responsible for almost all global pharmaceutical innovation. And so that is a significant trade-off, because the U.S. is the world's pharmacy when it comes to innovative medicine. And the Trump administration could run the risk of undermining that entrepreneurial and innovative process in the U.S. sector. If you're going to add tariffs on top of that, that could really put American patients in a crunch, because the drugs that aren't manufactured in the U.S. obviously come from elsewhere, and making those more expensive is not going to be the route to lower drug prices overall.
I have just a moment with you left, David, but what's your quick reaction to how the stock market reacted today?
I think it was mostly baked in already. Because the president has been forecasting tariffs since day one, a lot of the disruption has been baked in. I think we're going to have to see down the road, weeks and months down the road, to see it really have an impact on the market, but I think it certainly will.
David Clement, thank you so much for your time and insights.
Thank you.